Mr. Kim also said 3 organizations dealing with reunification would shut down, state media KCNA reported. South Korea's president said it would respond multiple times stronger to any provocation from the north.
이로부터 우리는 이미 더 이상 핵무기를 만들지도 시험하지도 않으며 사용하지도.
The two Koreas have been divided since the Korean War ended in 1953. They did not sign a peace treaty and therefore have remained technically still at war ever since. In a speech delivered at the Supreme People's Assembly, North Korea's rubber stamp parliament, Mr. Kim said that the constitution should be amended to educate North Koreans that South Korea is a primary foe and invariable principal enemy. He also said that if a war breaks out on the Korean peninsula, the country's constitution should reflect the issue of occupying, recapturing and incorporating the South into its territory. Mr. Kim, who replaced his father Kim Jong-il as North Korean leader in 2011, said the North did not want war, but we also have no intention of avoiding it, according to KCNA. He said he was taking a new stand on North-South relations, which included dismantling all organizations tasked with reunification. Speaking to his cabinet on Tuesday, South Korean President Yoon Suk-yeol said that if the North carried out a provocation, the South will retaliate multiple times stronger, pointing to the South Korean military's overwhelming response capabilities. Dr. John Nilsson Wright, who heads the Japan and Korea's program at Cambridge University's Center for Geopolitics, described Mr. Kim's remarks as unprecedented and said it was highly unusual for a North Korean leader to depart from the policy of unification. It's not unusual for relations between the North and South to cool, but this has taken the relationship in a different direction, he told the BBC. He added that Mr. Kim's anti-Western stance can be traced back to the 2019 summit with then US President Donald Trump in Vietnam.
But I wouldn't say that I'm pessimistic.
Which ended without an agreement. This has been an acute disappointment and loss of face for Kim, Dr. Nielsen Wright said. Heightened tensions. Mr. Kim's comments came as relations significantly weakened on the Korean peninsula in recent months. In November, North Korea fully suspended a 5-year military deal with the South, aimed at lowering military tensions. It promised to withdraw all measures taken to prevent military conflict in all spheres including ground, sea and air, and said it would deploy more forces to the border region. The South had partly suspended the agreement days earlier after Mr. Kim claimed to have successfully launched a spy satellite into space. The rhetoric and provocative actions from the North have only escalated since then. At year-end policy meetings, Mr. Kim said he needed to newly formulate the North's stance towards inter-Korean relations and reunification policy.
Thank you very much. I want you to send.
Adding that the stated goal was to make a decisive policy change related to the enemy. He also threatened a nuclear attack on the South and called for a buildup of his country's military arsenal. The North has also launched missiles in recent weeks, as well as live-fire exercises close to South Korean territory. In a report published last week for 38 North, a US-based organization with a focus on North Korea, former State Department official Robert Carlin and nuclear scientist Siegfried S. Hecker said they saw the situation on the Korean peninsula as more dangerous than it has ever been since the start of the Korean War in 1950. That may sound overly dramatic, but we believe that, like his grandfather in 1950, Kim Jong-un has made a strategic decision to go to war, it said. We do not know when or how Kim plans to pull the trigger, but the danger is already far beyond the routine warnings in Washington, Seoul and Tokyo about Pyongyang's provocations. It added that it did not see the war preparation themes in North Korean media as typical bluster. Dr. Nielsen Wright agreed and said the risk of escalation should be taken seriously. Meanwhile, North Korea's Foreign Minister Cho Son-hui is in Russia, where she is expected to meet President Vladimir Putin. The two countries have boosted ties recently, with both isolated by Western powers. And last September, Mr. Kim visited Russia, where he met Mr. Putin. Kim Jong-un wipes away tears as he calls on women in North Korea to have more babies. Assessments show the fertility rate in North Korea has been falling for a decade, amid increasing concerns within families over lots of money being needed to raise children. North Korean leader Kim Jong-un appeared to wipe away tears as he urged women to halt a decline in the country's birth rate. Mr. Kim was seen dabbing his eyes with a handkerchief in a rare moment of emotion as he addressed the National Mothers' Meeting in Pyongyang. He appeared to be trying to hold back the tears throughout his speech as he called on women to help strengthen the power of the nation. Stopping the decline in birth rates and providing good childcare and education are all our family affairs that we should solve together with our mothers, Mr. Kim told the meeting.
반드시 국제사회가 환영하는 결과를 만들기 위해 노력할 것입니다.
Experts believe many new families do not have more than one child in North Korea because they need lots of money to raise their kids. Accurate birth rate figures are difficult to compile because of the limited statistics disclosed by North Korea, which is one of the poorest nations in the world. Assessments by South Korea's government show the fertility rate for its northern neighbor has been falling for the past 10 years. The average number of babies expected to be born to a woman over her lifetime stood at 1.79 in North Korea in 2022, down from 1.88 in 2014. The decline is still slower than in South Korea, where the birth rate last year was 0.78, down from 1.20 in 2014. Mr. Kim's tearful appeal is in marked contrast to birth control programs introduced by North Korea in the 1970s and 80s to slow a post-war growth in population. North Korean leader Kim Jong-un said his military should thoroughly annihilate the US and South Korea if provoked, according to state media. Mr. Kim's comments on Sunday came after he said moves by the US and its allies against Pyongyang had been unprecedented in 2023, pushing the Korean peninsula to the brink of nuclear war. At the meeting, Mr. Kim called South Korea a hemiplegic malformation and colonial subordinate state, whose society is tainted by Yankee culture. He said his military must use all available means, including nuclear weapons, to suppress the whole territory of South Korea in the event of a conflict. In response, South Korea's defense ministry warned that if North Korea attempts to use nuclear weapons, South Korean and US forces will punish it overwhelmingly, resulting in the end of the Kim government. Experts say small-scale military clashes between North and South Korea could happen this year along their heavily armed border. They say North Korea is also expected to test-launch intercontinental ballistic missiles capable of reaching the mainland US and other major new weapons. In his New Year's Day address on Monday, South Korean President Yoon Suk-yeol said he will strengthen his military's preemptive strike, missile defense, and retaliatory capabilities in response to the North Korean nuclear threat. In a meeting with commanding army officers on Sunday, he said the country needed to sharpen the treasured sword to safeguard national security, an apparent reference to his country's nuclear weapons program. He cited,
김 위원장님 자신 있으십니까?
the US and other hostile forces' military confrontation moves, according to the Korean Central News Agency, KCNA. Mr. Kim said that our army should deal a deadly blow to thoroughly annihilate them by mobilizing all the toughest means and potentialities without moment's hesitation if they opt for military confrontation and provocations against North Korea, KCNA added. North Korea's leader is expected to ramp up weapons tests in 2024 ahead of the US presidential election in November, with many experts believing that Mr. Kim thinks an expanded nuclear arsenal will allow him to gain US concessions if former President Donald Trump is re-elected. In a 5-day meeting of the ruling party last week, Mr. Kim pledged to launch 3 new spy satellites, build military drones, and increase his country's stock of nuclear weapons in 2024. Outro. This ends today's video. Don't forget to leave a like, comment, and subscribe for the realist Kim Jong story. Thanks.